Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Welcome to Get Your Play Online. My name is Sarah Rose, and for today's craft, we're going to have a fishy fun time as we make our very own paper plate goldfish. Now, a goldfish is a very popular fish. It's the most popular aquarium fish in the whole world. That means a lot of people have goldfish for pets. So if you have your own goldfish, or if you know someone who has their own goldfish, you get to make a friend for your goldfish, or you get to make a goldfish of your very own. We're also going to be reading today Not Norman, a Goldfish Story. So my friends, this is a great craft for any of my school-age friends or even any of my preschool friends. Just know that we will be using some scissors. So if you are a little one or if you are still working on scissors and learning to use scissors or don't feel okay using scissors on your own, make sure to ask a grown-up for help. And if you are a grown-up watching, you can just cut out the pieces for your little one and they can glue them on as they feel. Yeah. So to make this goldfish, we're going to need a paper plate. So I'm using a paper plate. You can also use a plastic plate. That's totally fine. I'm going to put my fish. He'll be right here. That way we have kind of an idea of what we're going for. But remember, no fish looks exactly the same. So we have our paper plate. You're going to need some orange construction paper. So if you want to make a pattern with your fish's scales, you can also grab some yellow construction paper. But that is totally optional and up to you. You're going to need some paint. So you can use, I'm going to use watercolor paint. This is the paint that I have. You can use watercolor paint. You can use whatever paint you have. In the comments, I'm going to put a link to our blog post that has a recipe for making your own paint if you don't have paint at home. For right now, though, if you don't have paint, you can just grab an orange marker and color your paper plate in that way. Regardless of whether you're painting or coloring your plate in with a marker, you're going to need a black marker too. That's just to give our fish its little eyeball. You're going to need something to stick the elements onto your goldfish. So that can be glue or it can be tape. I have both with me. Some liquid glue, you can use a glue stick too, and some tape. Now I have found in my experience that the liquid glue, it takes a little while for it to stick, and because the edges of our plate are not totally flat, the glue has a tough time sticking all the way to it. So I'm going to use some liquid glue, but I also recommend having tape handy just in case things aren't sticking the way that you'd like them to. So, last thing, we need some scissors. Remember, if you do not feel comfortable using scissors on your own, ask a grown-up to help. So, my friends, I think we have our supplies. I think we're ready to get started. Oh, before we get started, because we are going to be painting, and we're going to paint our whole plate, I recommend putting something down under your, or on your workstation, under where you're going to be painting. So I just had this brown paper laying around. It came in a package, so rather than throw it away, I'm just using what I have. So I recommend grabbing something and getting your workstation set up. While we do that, I'm going to share a little bit about how we're going to get started. I got a little head start. So if you're using watercolors like me, just know that it may take a little while to cover your whole plate in orange. And also, that could just be my watercolors. So what you're going to do is you're going to cover the entire back of your plate with the color orange. So that's either coloring it with an orange marker, doing orange paint. We're going to make our paper plate orange. Another option, if you just don't have a paper plate laying around, or you don't want to color a whole paper plate orange, you can just cut out a really large orange circle out of construction paper, and that can be the base of your goldfish. So I'm going to work on painting my paper plate orange. So goldfish typically look orange, but you can make your goldfish whatever color you'd like. It can be mostly orange, it can be mostly yellow with a little bit of orange. You get to decide. I am curious how many of my friends watching actually have a pet goldfish. If you have a pet goldfish, comment below so we can see and tell us your fish's name. And if you don't have a goldfish, be thinking of some good goldfish names to give your paper plate goldfish once we're done. So like I said, using the watercolors takes a little bit of time. And I got some on my arm. If you're painting, make sure you roll up your sleeves. You don't want to get paint on your clothes. So you're going to want to cover the whole back of the plate. So it's the part where if you lay it flat, it kind of puffs up a little bit. I like to think of it as like a very short top hat. So we want our plate to be mostly orange. If you see a little white peeking through, that's okay. Like I said, no two goldfish are exactly alike. So your goldfish doesn't need to look exactly like mine. Or if you're basing it off of your goldfish at home, it doesn't need to look exactly like your goldfish. So my friends, we're just going to keep painting until our paper plate is fully orange. And while we're painting, I have some fish jokes and some fish facts, or facts about goldfish. So, my friends, what kind of fish only comes out at night? This is a joke. This is not a fish fact. Any guesses? It's a starfish! A starfish comes out at night. Alright, my friends. What kind of music should you listen to with a fish? Any guesses? Something with a good tune. Get it? Like a good tune? Because tuna is a fish. Alright, friends. How did the oyster manage to hide from the fish? Take your best guess. Why do you think? So how did the oyster manage to hide from the fish? Camouflage. Instead of camouflage, where they hide, it's camouflage. Alright, my friends, I'll just do one more joke and then we can get into some fish facts while we finish up. Let's see, let me pull up my fishy jokes. Where does a fish keep its money? Any guesses? A river bank. Like an actual bank, but a river bank? Very good, my friends. Alright, my friends. So keep painting. I'm just about done painting my plate, but you keep going, or if you want to stop and tell me your favorite fishy joke, I'd love to hear it. So, some fun goldfish facts. Now this is just about goldfish. Goldfish are one of the most popular pets that people have all around the world. Lots of people have goldfish. Around 480 million goldfish are sold every year. It's a lot of goldfish. You can tell how old a goldfish is based on its scales. As goldfish get older, they will get these rings on their scales, and you can use that to tell how old your goldfish is. Pretty cool. Goldfish also can see in more colors than humans can. So right now I'm painting yellow, but I wonder what a goldfish would see. If it would see yellow, or if yellow would look differently to a goldfish. And the reason I'm painting yellow is just to fill in some of the white spots. And just mix up the orange color a little bit. But Again, you can do whatever you'd like with your own goldfish. Your goldfish and my goldfish are not going to look the same, but that's okay, because like people, no two goldfish are exactly the same. Alright, so I'm just about done with painting my plate. As you can see a little bit of white poking through, but it's mostly covered in orange or yellow. And just a little bit of paint on my arms. Alright, my friends, so regardless if you painted or drew on your plate with marker, we're going to give our plate just a little bit of time to dry. We are going to be cutting it and gluing things onto the orange side of our paper, or of our plate. So I want to give it just a little bit of time to dry. So I'm just going to set it off to the side. And while we're waiting for our paint to dry, or for our plate to dry, we're going to read a Goldfish story. It's called Not Norman, a Goldfish Story by Kelly Bennett. Now, I want to say, if you are still painting, feel free to keep painting. You took your time. You can just listen along with the story. I'll read you just a little bit about what our story is going to be about. Norman the goldfish wasn't what this little boy had in mind. He wanted a different kind of pet. One that could run and catch or chase strings and climb trees. A soft, furry pet to sleep on his bed at night. Not Norman. But when he tries to trade Norman for a good pet, things don't go as planned. Could it be that Norman is a better pet than he thought? With wry humor and lighthearted affection, author Kelly Bennett and illustrator Noah Z. Jones offer an unexpected and positively fishy take on exactly what kind of pet a goldfish can be. So my friends, without further ado, here's Not Norman by Kelly Bennett. When I got Norman, I didn't want to keep him. I wanted a different kind of pet. Not Norman. There we go. I wanted a pet who could run and catch things, or one who could climb trees and chase strings, a soft furry pet to sleep on my bed at night. Not Norman. All Norman does is swim around and 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 around. Norman is stuck in his fishbowl, so he just swims. The other pets that our friend was talking about, you see him in this picture. You see a dog playing fetch, and a cat laying with its owner. This is it, Norman, I decide. I'm trading you for a good pet. Norman doesn't move. Not even a fin twitches. How can I trade him like this? No one will want a sorry-looking fish in a gunky bowl. Ooh, do you see how gunky his fish tank looks? That's why it's important to clean the fish tank very often. When I drop Norman into his nice clean bowl, he cleaned the bowl. When I drop Norman into his nice clean bowl, he starts dipping and flipping, flapping his fins around. He looks so goofy, I have to laugh. Don't think that just because you made me laugh, I'm going to keep you, I tell him. Tomorrow, you're out of here. Norman blows a stream of bubbles. Oh, look at Norman. Maybe he was just sad that his fish tank was gunky. Now that it's clean, Norman feels a whole lot better. The next day, I take Norman to school with me. If I talk him up real good during show and tell, Maybe someone will want him. On the way there, we see my friend Austin. Austin has a real cool dog and 7 puppies. That's a lot of puppies. Want to swap one of your pups for Norman? I ask. Who's Norman? Asks Austin. My goldfish, I say. By the time I rescue Norman, half his water is gone. Oh no, the puppies were using the water bowl for their water. Oh no, poor Norman. I'm sorry, I tell Norman when we get to school. I'm really sorry. He just stares at me, all googly-eyed. Finally, it's my turn to show and tell. Just as I start to talk about my goldfish, Emily shouts, "Jenny's gone! Who let my snake loose?" Oh no, a snake is loose! Do you like snakes? Some people do, some people don't. Ooh, my guess is not a lot of his classmates like snakes. Does anyone hear the story of how I got Norman? Does anyone even ask to hold his bowl? No. They're all jumping and screaming and chasing the snake. Not Norman. He's looking right at me. Thanks for listening, I tell him. So Norman is a pretty good listener. That afternoon, we go to my music lesson. As soon as it's over, I'm taking Norman back to the pet store. I take out my tuba and begin to play. I glance over at Norman. He's swaying back and forth. Glug, 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 glug. He mouths. Look, Norman's singing, I say. Pay attention, snaps Maestro, and try to play the proper notes. And his tuba goes, bum, 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 ba, 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 bo, 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 bee. I don't think that sounds like a tuba. A tuba definitely sounds better than my impression of a tuba. Maestro makes me stay for extra practice. By the time my lesson is over, it's too late to go to the pet store. Don't think that just because you like my music, I'm going to keep you, I tell Norman. He glugs. So far, Norman is a pretty good listener. He's really happy when he has a clean tape, and he likes his music. He sounds like a pretty good pet to me. That night, I'm sound asleep when... Screech! Screech! What's that noise? Scratch, scratch, screech! Yikes! There's something at the window. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I spot... Norman! He isn't scared. He isn't swimming around in circles either. He floats and gives me a little wave. I'm not alone. Together, Norman and I slide open the curtains. It was just a broken tree branch. Thanks for watching out for me, Norman. So when he was scared, Norman was there to comfort him. He didn't feel as alone, so it wasn't as scary. On Saturday, I take Norman to the pet store, just like I said I would. I look at the cats and dogs and snakes and birds. I look at the hamsters and mice and lizards too. They all look like good pets, but they are not Norman. When I got Norman, I wasn't sure I wanted to keep him. But now, even if I could pick any pet in the whole world, I wouldn't trade him. Not Norman. And look, there's Norman singing. The end. Wasn't that a fun story, my friends? So a goldfish can be a really exciting pet. At least Norman was very exciting. And with our story, our plate should have dried at least a little bit. If it's still a little wet, that's okay. And you can take some time to, and you can set it aside if you need more time for it to dry and come back later. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut out our mouth, and then the triangle that we cut out is also going to be our fish's tail. So I'm just going to eyeball it. If you want to, you can flip your paper plate over and you can draw a triangle. Kind of like this. It doesn't need to look exactly like mine, and you could also just eyeball it if you want. So either cut along the line, or looking at your orange side of your paper, you're just going to make one big cut, kind of like a third of the way in. So not all the way to the middle, just stop a little before the middle. And then I'm going to turn my plate and I'm going to cut out a triangle. Or I'm going to cut another line, and where my two lines meet, a triangle will come out. So there, now we have an open mouth for our goldfish, and we have our goldfish tail. So I'm going to put my goldfish tail off to the side. Now what I'm going to do is make my fishy scales. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to get out that orange construction paper, and we're just going to draw some circles. These circles should be, they should be about the size of like a golf ball. So not really small, but not really big either. I'm going to draw kind of how big our circle should be. It's going to be about that size. So about the size of a golf ball. Now you can draw just one circle, and then a trick that I like to do is I like to fold the paper. That way when I cut it out, I get two circles instead of one. You can also just draw about 6 or 7 of these circles. Remember, they don't have to be exactly the same size, and they don't need to be exactly the same shape. So I'm just going to draw 7 circles. I've got my 7 circles drawn. As you can see, not all of them look perfect, but that's okay. And then we're going to cut out those circles. So I'm going to cut along the black line as best as I can. And after I have one, I'm going to set it aside with my fishy tail. And then I'm just going to keep going. What was your favorite part of that story? I liked when it looked like Norman was singing along with the boy's trombone, tuba, the boy's tuba. I wish I had a goldfish that would sing. My friends, if you know a goldfish, let me know if your goldfish sings. Because that sounds super cool. I just have 2 more circles to go. Here we go. I have my 7 circles cut out. If you're still cutting, take your time. There's no rush. So I'm going to put my orange paper plate down and I'm going to start making my scales. So I have one side with the marker that you can see, and then I have another side where you can't see the marker. I'm going to fold my scales so that I'm just going to fold my circle in half. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on just one side of our scale. And I'm going to put that right here. I'm going to have one close to the edge of my paper plate. These are just going to be the scales. And if you can see my circle, the round edge is facing away from the triangle piece or the mouth. So kind of like they're swimming. So we're just going to keep doing that with our other scales. And with our other scales, we're going to do a little bit of a line. So we're going to have this one, this line is going to start from a little further up top. So there's one scale. And then it's almost like the circles are going to be stacked on top of each other. If you want to, as you can see here, there's a little opening. You can overlap your circles just a little bit. So there's my second circle is stacked just a little bit on top of that one. Or you can have them just stacked right on top of each other. So we're just going to do that. My line is going to be 3 circles down. So I'm just putting on my 3rd circle. Here we go. So these are what my scales look like so far. Now I'm going to do another line. I'm starting my line around here. So a little bit shorter than this line, the second line. But still doing the same thing of cutting or of folding our circles, folding our circles in half, gluing on just one side of our half circle, and gluing it onto our fish. So this line is just going to have 2 circles. Here, I'll move this down just a little bit so you can see. So as you can see, this line, or this part, only has 2 circles. And then we just have one more circle left. And we're going to do kind of like what we did for our first row of scales, or for our first column of scales, we're just going to have one close to the fish's mouth. So these are what my scales look like. All of the circles are facing the same way. They're all glued. Again, if your scales don't look exactly like this, that's totally fine. Fish scales, like fish and like people, are different for every fish. So now that we have our fish scales glued, we're going to start gluing our fish tail on and our fins. So to glue our fish tail, I'm going to flip over my plate, and I'm going to, from the tip of my triangle where my mouth is, I'm going to draw an imaginary line and place my finger right at the edge of the plate. So this tells me kind of like where the middle of my fish is going to be. Now I'm going to draw, or I'm going to put some glue on the tip of my fishtail. So this triangle edge, that's where we're going to, or the pointy edge, that's where we're going to put our glue. So then I'm going to paste my fishy tail just a little. It's going to be on the edge of the paper plate. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see, but like I said, in my experience, the glue has a difficult time with the rounded edges of the paper plate. So I'm just going to take some tape and secure our fishy tail. There we go. So now we've got our fish tail. Now what we're going to do for our fin, we're going to draw a top fin and a bottom fin. So my bottom fin, it looks like a rounded triangle or a shark fin. And this one, it looks like a rectangle just with a round circle edge. Just one corner is round. So we can draw that together. I'm going to use my piece of paper that I use for the circles. So I'm going to start at the top, and this is going to be my flat edge for one of my fins. I'm going to do my triangle fin. So I'm just going to do a rounded shape here. And then I'm going to start just a little further away from this line and do another rounded edge. And I'm going to make those lines meet in the middle. So now we have a point. So we have one curved line, and then we have another line, but it's not as curvy as the first one. So we've got our bottom fin. Now to make our top fin, we're going to do a straight line up. Then we're going to do one long curvy line all the way to the edge of our paper. So very similar to the lines we did here, except it's going to curve all the way down to the edge. Now it's time to cut out our bottom fin and our top fin. If I can find my scissors. Here. Alright, so I have my bottom fin. And my top fin. Alright, my friends. So, now like our example, we're going to glue our top fin, the one that kind of looks more like a rectangle, up top, and our fin that looks more like a triangle down at the bottom. Again, if you have tape, that may make it a little bit easier for, a little bit easier for these pieces to stay. But we can try the glue. It never hurts to try. So I'm going to put some glue along this bottom, around the flat bottom of my top fin. And I'm just going to glue it on this top edge of my paper, or of my paper plate. See? And I've got some tape nearby just in case I need to tape the piece on if it falls off. So it doesn't matter which way your fin is going. I chose to have my rounded edge closest to the side with the mouth. That way it kind of looks like all the scales and the fin is going in one direction. It's up to you though. And then I'm going to do that same thing with my bottom fin. So like this rounded edge is is closest to the mouth. This rounded edge, the edge that goes this way, that curves out instead of in, I'm going to have it at the bottom. So I'm just going to put some glue on the flat edge of my piece and tape that to the bottom of my fish. And for good measure, I'm just going to add some tape, just in case. So the only thing that our fish is missing is a fishy eyeball. So I'm just going to draw a circle kind of close to the mouth. There you have it. Now you have made your very own goldfish. There we go. You have your very own goldfish friend now. I think I'm going to name mine Norman. My friends, thank you so much for joining me for this very fun, fishy activity. I hope that you had as much fun making your little goldfish as I did. And thank you so much for joining me for our story. My friends, until next time, have a swimmingly fine rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye, friends. Take care.